don't let AI do all the thinking. It's a constructive perspective where like I'm actually welcoming the tool in the evolutionary paths across millions of years. Like who am I to say that I'm like the final best, most amazing thing ever happened and I should remain that fact forever? Don't let AI do all the thinking is kind of like inviting humanity to be a part of this next creative revolution, saying that actually inside all individuals there is something really awesome.
Thanks for coming on the show, Marcus. And why don't you start by sharing a little bit about what Chew on This is and what your focus is with that company?
So Chew on This is what we call creativity as a sport. And it's a reaction to regular old conferences where people are forced into sitting on a chair. They're on their phone and the speaker is like halfway irrelevant. And we wanted to make something where people come and actually talk to each other and to come and play with creativity and to find a way to break the ice in a world full of loneliness and in like rigid structures. We wanted to make something that goes out of that and where people can actually come and be radical, ask questions, and create prompts, and also come up with solutions to those prompts, and also use AI in creative processes if they want to.
One of the things as I was kind of just doing a little research and talking with you is it's almost like an escape room experience where you're in a room. The room is the environment is primed to engage you, make you more curious, make you engage, make you think about entrepreneurship, business creating, and then also almost as this antidote to AI of saying, okay, well, we have human intelligence. We now also have digital and AI intelligence.
Yeah.
What then, if you extrapolate it long form and over a long enough time horizon, we know digital intelligence will win. So where is the antidote or the value from the human side? And your hypothesis is creativity. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's kind of like don't let AI do all the thinking. And it's been said that it's not, it's the people with AI and not AI itself that will replace you in your job. And our thinking to this is that the beauty and the complexity and the skill of the human mind is actually, I believe, is deeper than we think. But it has to be activated. You have to be able to form an intention and use your intuition to find something that is meaningful to create. And in order to do that, we need to be creative. And creativity is also a difficult thing to put your finger on. It can be many things in many situations. It's many things for many different types of people. And chew on something is an act of being creative. So to reflect, to ponder, to break apart, to put together, to be creative, to investigate, to listen. And that's why we call it like to chew on something. And that's also why it's called Chew on This. And also creativity is not magic. It's kind of like a muscle. So you have to exercise it, use it, and know how you can, like Stephen Pressfield says, that you have to get the muse or summon the muse in order to like become creative and find the energy and the strength, I think, to push forward and investigate.
I know a lot of people who would say, oh, I'm not a creative person. I can't draw. I'm not musical. I'm just not a creative person. That's not for me. What do you say to people who maybe show up in that space with that kind of preconceived idea that creativity is a talent rather than a skill, right? A talent being something you're born with versus a skill, something that you learn. What do you say to them? How do you kind of get people out of that mindset and help them be creative?
Yeah. So in Chew on This, we say that like my philosophy and what I brought into Chew on This together with my advisory board and the community is that creativity is like cooking, and the creative process is like making a dish, and all the ingredients are knowledge and articles and ideas and opinions, references, thoughts, and that's what you bring into the creative process. So if somebody asks you to like come up with the story of a book, then that's going to be quite difficult. But if I start adding ingredients, limitations, restrictions, ideas, then people can be more creative. So if creativity is like cooking, anyone can be creative if they prepare their kitchen to do so. If you have Italian cuisine and Indian cuisine, you can probably be quite creative because now you have some like diversity in those ingredients, and then you put them together in novel ways. So if a good idea or a good result of a creative process, that's you would call that innovation. But we do somewhat creativity all the time. So not all dishes are awesome, but some dishes can become really great. But creativity is the process of getting to somewhere new or to assemble different ingredients into something. I would say that is creativity. And that's what we say to people who come to Chew on this, that here is all about coming up with ingredients, helping each other, creating intention by asking a question, which is, I think, is quite an underestimated concept overall, to help somebody find intention. Because with intention, you can inspire your intuition and say, I have an idea of where I want to go. Oh, I need these ingredients. And then you start the creative process. And as a result, you are being creative. And then the result is kind of like a different story. But yeah, so I would say that's
lighting that
creativity. Yeah.
Lighting that initial fire, that spark to kind of get people with that intention, that direction. Two things that I really liked that you said that I want to pull out as well. The first is that you said that creativity is not magic. And I think that it does feel like magic. It feels like this ambiguous thing. It's not math, right? It's hard to kind of read about in a textbook. But there are specific steps and ingredients and process, and it is a skill that you can exercise. And I think the fact that you are kind of taking that approach and saying, yes, it is this wonderful, delightful thing that innovation comes out of, and who knows where we end up, but there is a process and methodology to actually get there. And there are many ways to get there, but you can break it down into steps and practice. I think that's a really good frame of reference to kind of think about as well when exploring creativity.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, in Chew on this format, I have prepared some things for you, Elijah, because in Chew on this, we fill the wall. I'm not sure if this becomes like opposite on or like reverted on the screen.
It looks good. Yeah.
We have so posters like this.
For anyone who's listening, he's holding up posters that have questions
paper
such as
posters, all you internet people. Paper posters all over the wall. And on the top, it says long live dialogue. And in the bottom, it says don't let AI do all the thinking. And then we have a question, like a main question. And then underneath, we have like a follow-up paragraph. And this is created by the community and by AI. And together we put our context full of questions and prompts in order to like spark us into the special world, to quote Joseph Campbell, to come into a place where you feel like I'm actually here to do something special. I'm here to like push some boundaries, and you leave some politics behind. And in the same way that people become and behave a bit differently on the football field, is because the narrative changed, the overall story, like the why you are there. And that's framing. Framing. And it's incredible how that works. And the results over the past 7 years has been really awesome. A lot of people love to come and just be allowed to be creative. And so I'm super motivated to continue with this, with Chew on this. And we're currently operating out of Berlin. We have a small community here, and the feedback is very inspiring. So yeah.
I think one of the other really powerful ideas that you are, maybe tools is the better word, but one of the powerful tools that you're leveraging to make all this happen as well is you're putting constraints on it, right? You're framing it. You're giving it an environment. You're giving prompts. And I think that creativity doesn't need those things. If you have that skill set and you have, strong mastery in it, you can go anywhere. You can go to a kitchen, you have no idea what the ingredients are, and you can make an amazing dish. Yeah. But not everyone's necessarily on that level. And so having some constraints saying, okay, we're going to do a pasta-based dish. Okay, we're going to have some type of sauce. Okay, let's think about a side. We also need a vegetable. And just kind of framing all of this helps people feel less overwhelmed by, oh, here's this blank canvas. Where do I even begin? And it's, oh, here's blank canvas, and we're going to do a landscape painting, and here are the colors that you can work with. So like start there. And I think doing that framing is extremely helpful for people to kind of build up that muscle and that skill set.
For sure. It's almost like that's one of the first steps of creativity, because you're going to create something out of nothing. And so the first step of creating something out of nothing is you need some kind of narrative, some kind of constraint, some kind of frame for you to put your mind to. And especially also, I always say that diversity always like makes creativity explode. And it's a really powerful thing if you can bring multiple, like things that are like almost polarizing, or that are like a headset and a horse. It's like some opposites, but also in random ways. And then creativity can suddenly become quite funny. And one of the things that goes with Chew on this is actually also to attract different types of people, both in ages and focus and interests, from artists to technology people, and have them discuss love and how love will affect the user journey or product design or education or memory or sleep and so on. Actually, Chew on this have one more card up its sleeve that makes it a bit different, because so we have this context of all of the posters, and we have basically 3 steps that all the participants is going through. The first one is to gather ingredients and find intent, and basically talking to each other, discussing the posters on the wall. And the second one is to design a prompt themselves. And here you can test that prompt on ChatGPT. But we challenge them in coming up with a question or a prompt, a creative exercise for everyone to solve in the third session, which is like where we play Chew on This's entrepreneurship simulator in the game show format. And this is kind of inspired where we met Elijah from our the accelerator program in China. But we have our own game currency. It's called Mad Dough, and all of the participants gets this, and they take the role of the investor. And then you can choose to take the role as a startup and be a team of like 3 people that takes one of the prompts presented in the middle part of the event, and then try to solve that in front of the audience. And then the audience is investing in kind of like crowdfunding with their money, the best idea. And that's how it has the creative context, but also the kind of the journey from the beginning to the end that gives some purpose to both extroverts and introverts and all the people, all the participants, to like, as a group, come up with ideas and to challenge each other to go somewhere and go into the unknown with an intention and the idea to try to solve something. And it's all for fun. I mean, the winner of Chew on This gets a bubble gum. So
that's kind of like life, right? It's all for fun. You can't take it with you. So
yeah, exactly. It's a one-time experience. Yeah.
One of the concepts that we have definitely talked about ad nauseum is entrepreneurship, and you touched on it a bit here, right? So the third phase of Chew on This is doing kind of the entrepreneurial pitch and fundraising and investor kind of vibe. Yeah. Where do you see creativity in that process? And I guess the question with that is, creativity is often thought of as art. We generally think of being art is creativity and commerce is business and finance. And entrepreneurship is kind of this middle area where, yeah, maybe it takes some creativity, but it takes business savvy and fundraising, all this kind of stuff. How do you see the two interacting together, whether through Chew or your own personal viewpoint?
So, how creativity meets entrepreneurship. So, I think the funny thing about entrepreneurship is that it is the domain or body of knowledge that is about making something out of nothing and make it work in reality. And the reality is, in principle, that we have a free market. So the people that you want to be creative for, the people that's going to eat the dish, maybe one of the reasons that you can and want to make the food dish to begin with, that there is something that is waiting for that food dish in the end. And in the same way that a horse is different from a car, you have to be creative to start putting like other ingredients together that assembled together becomes a car, but that's the purpose of a horse. And I see creativity coming in as a very important tool to be innovative and to be to come up with something new that is potentially pulling more services together or more value propositions to the end customer together and creating a new product, which means a type of value that you can buy, and there's a transaction with the provider of that value. And so creativity is important in many places in entrepreneurship, but not the only thing that you need. It kind of comes as like the silver lining around other things that should follow best practices and like known ways and methods. But pretty important.
The intersection, I think you painted a really good job there of entrepreneurship is the manifestation of creativity in reality. And so to create in your kitchen or to create in the business and world landscape, entrepreneurship is one of the most common vehicles. Art can be another one as well, but business obviously has an outsized power and impact on our daily lives. And so being able to kind of find that ever evolving demand from a consumer or a group of consumers to find what they currently desire and want, but is not currently being fulfilled. And maybe they don't even know they desire it until you build it. But kind of doing that dance and kind of getting in that space, whether it's a faster horse or a car, kind of exploring that and understanding that and then building that and then being able to deliver that and then finding the customer and then educating the customer, just going through that entire life cycle in that process is a fantastically creative process while also being grounded in fundamentals of business, economics, pricing.
And that is the world we live in. I mean, unless the person listening live in a perfect plan economics communist state that's like really working really well and you're just like getting things for free, I mean, maybe that entrepreneurship isn't that important. But if you're like everyone else lives in a market economy, then entrepreneurship is, and I would say for artists, if you run a band, if you like to like do gardening, entrepreneurship is eventually going to become relevant. And that is why Chew on This chose to use entrepreneurship as like a red thread to give Luke Skywalker a mission, so to say. So entrepreneurship and creativity is, I think entrepreneurship is a very interesting way of using creativity, because you can take anything inside and then see, okay, how do I get that into the world? And that's kind of where Chew on This is wanting to go and to help people think in that direction, to take it into reality. Yeah.
So you have the phrase, don't let AI do all the thinking.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean, though, in this context, in the future that we're heading towards, in the world of entrepreneurship and creativity? Any thoughts there?
So, I mean, this is my thoughts. I use really advanced machines all the time, and fire is hot. AI is cool, and it might be dangerous, but I'm in the opinion that I am still making a lot of cool things. And I also think that where intent and ideas and dreams come from is actually somewhere really complex. So don't let AI do all the thinking is a kind of constructive perspective, where like I'm actually welcoming the tool, and there's been in the evolutionary paths across millions of years, like who am I to say that I'm like the final best most amazing thing ever happened and I should remain that fact forever? Like I'm just happy to be alive. I know that the advancement of everything is maybe exponential, maybe we're like that's how it feels, and it's like paradigm shift that we're in. So don't let AI do all the thinking is kind of like inviting humanity to be a part of this next creative revolution, saying that actually inside all individuals, there is something really awesome. There are things that you can do, and Chew on This is here to amplify the potential Homo sapiens, essentially, using creativity and using AI, because it's not about who is the best between humans and AI. The question is, can we make all of the awesome things that we need to do? Like, can AI help us make fusion power? I mean, we cannot afford not to solve our problems. And yes, fire is hot, but sometimes, I mean, have you eaten like cold pork?
No, and I don't really want to.
Exactly. And I think it's me coming from a point of view that I don't control anything. I'm just a part of, like, I'm a fish in a big ocean, and I really want to learn how to be a great swimmer so I can have fun on my little journey throughout time. And so that's where don't let AI do all the thinking comes into the picture. Let's all be optimists and just work really hard and smart to get somewhere. So, yeah.
With AI and the work that you do, maybe speak a little bit about the user interface design work that you do, the user experience work that you do. Talk about that, but then also how has that shifted, if at all, with AI, whether it's tools, process, prompting, etc., versus what you want to see long term?
Right. So actually for this, I have prepared like a small drawing. So I wonder if I'm just going to share my screen and show you.
Perfect.
So like this, I am using Arc now, which is awesome.
As am I.
Oh, you are as well? Okay. I mean, maybe like a small pin on that one. So storytelling
Check
as
out
a product.
the browser company for anyone who's interested in upgrading your browser.
Yeah, it's time to give Google Chrome a little bit of, or the horse. Go out and try the car, everyone. You're done riding.
It's faster and better.
We're not affiliated by any means, but you never know, Arc, if you want to. Okay. So storytelling as a product design framework is, I love storytelling. I love like telling stories, making stories, and I also write my own sci-fi. And when I work with design interfaces, I'm always like thinking about the human that's going to use this tool. And in the same way that with a hammer you build houses, an interface is a tool that you're going to use to do something. But very often we build software just to like finish a set of requirements. Like we need these 6 buttons and we need all of this data presented in a list format. But that's a very like non-proactive way of thinking about your role with your product. So what I've been thinking a lot about, and it's been like years in the making, and I'm barely finished. And I do have an article actually on Substack, which I'm learning how to write properly. But there I have like my first hypothesis, and it looks into the relationship between the user or the customer and the business. And the first thing I did is that I changed the name of the user and the protagonist, at least in my mind and my processes, to the protagonist. In the same way that Luke Skywalker or Harry Potter is going on a journey, our customers and users are actually also trying to get somewhere. Like, I'm not buying a t-shirt just because I'm just buying a t-shirt. I am working on my style. I'm subconsciously and, in a meta way, trying to improve my style. And I think that is true for almost every product that we have. They're a part of somebody's journey. And if you understand your protagonist, you can also think about your relationship with that protagonist. Like, who are you in their story? And what kind of tool are you? So I went ahead and I used Joseph Campbell's hero's journey and a lot of other storytelling principles. And I condensed them into what I know about product design. And I made these like 6 points that you could use for how to think about your product. Should I go through it for you? You want to hear?
Yeah, maybe just kind of describe a high level overview of the journey for those not familiar with Campbell's work, and then how you're tying that into your flow.
So the hero's journey specifically It's not that I remember all, like just in this very moment, the details of every step, but essentially that you have the starting point of a protagonist where for example, Luke Skywalker is saying, I'm going to get off this rock and fight the Empire. That's when the protagonist is jumping into the special world. And the special world consists of different types of challenges and intermediate sections and parts of a story where the protagonist meets its helper, like Harry Potter meeting Hermione. And it also talks about like obstacles that the hero is going to face, and also what happens if they complete the mission and how they come back and out of the special world in a new and improved state, usually. And
also this arc, we also are so familiar with it because we've heard fairy tales growing up. We've played video games where this is exactly what you go through as a protagonist. We've done so many different, we've seen so many different iterations of this story, of this narrative, of this world, that it is what we naturally gravitate towards, of wanting to relate to the protagonist, wanting to understand their desires, their push, their struggles, and then ultimately their transformation.
Yeah. So on the screen here, I basically have the hero's journey in a summarized format, and it does go through like the challenges, and they really hit the low point, and they have a rebirth and a big revelation that they change a lot. They find their mission, and then they have this path through transformation and through the final defeat of their obstacle before they return into the normal world and potentially again get called out on adventure. So the way that this ties into my idea is that like you think about your customer or your user as a person that is on its journey, and you can tie. So step number one is defining the protagonist and what they want to do and their vision, and then actually step 6, if you jump to the very end, is to think about what this vision is. What is it that the customer is trying to achieve in the end? How does their life look like when they achieve what they want to use your product or service for? Like, I have a hammer, that's a product, and I build houses. And building the house is the ultimate purpose of that hammer. And knowing that, I think is going to be very important for businesses and services around the world to actually compete in a world where there is very hard to build brand loyalty. So instead of brand loyalty, we should think about the customer as like we having a relation to this customer and knowing who we are and what we're going to do for that customer. So
being the guide, the spirit guide, the wisdom that helps them on that journey.
Yeah, like some wizard who hands you Excalibur, and Excalibur is our tool. So you have the protagonist. The protagonist is going on a journey, which is their life. On that journey, they have problems and challenges and jobs to be done, and they also have small goals and rewards on the way. And then you can try to come up with a route, like a way to think about how the customer is using your service over time and how that ties into different scenarios that the customer might be in. And on top of the problems and the route and the goals and the vision, then you can come in as a product or a company or both and think about your role, your relation to the customer. Who are you? And you can even go so far in thinking about like theater, like who are you as what kind of like flavor is your personality of your brand, of your colors, the way you speak, the way you talk to them, and the way that you engage with them through time. And this last like illustration here is kind of putting it into perspective. Often I talk to my clients and I ask them, so what do you want to have happen with your product and your customer throughout time? So your customer and you are starting on your journey, and it takes the customer and the protagonist through time with your product and trying to get those goals and rewards, and to avoid all of the problems and the jobs to be done. Or not avoid jobs to be done, but avoid the problems and solve the jobs to be done. And so this is kind of the storytelling as a language framework for product design, like a new way to be inspired by storytelling and to exchange customer and user with the word protagonist, and see that the way that you relate to your customer and user will change if you do so.
I'll make sure that the graphics are in the show notes as well. And I think reframing it as a hero's journey and understanding that every person, every buyer, every customer does see themselves as the hero of their own story, their own life, their own world. And maybe this is a small subset of it. If I'm just trying to refresh my wardrobe, that's a small little journey I'm going on. But it is technically a journey. I have an objective, I have a goal. I am in the starting place, and the starting place is I don't have a good wardrobe, and the end place is I do have a good wardrobe. And so they are going on that journey. Now that is a small subset of I want to be attractive, I want to get promoted, or I want to get a date, or I want to get married, I want to have kids, right? So it's a small subset, but it is these baby stories that we can kind of show up again and just support the customer in the overall vision.
And also lead with intention. I mean, this is what universities are doing today. Like they actually, without knowing it, kind of are using storytelling. They're thinking about their customer, literally, and how they go from not being an engineer to becoming an engineer. And then there is a journey, there's obstacles, there's a plan, there is a road and a roadmap with pitfalls and opportunities on the way. And I think if you don't think about your customer as you are joining them on a path towards their ultimate mission, then you are going, because there's so many competitors in every vertical. Like maybe you build something, you're alone for a week, but you're going to become, and with AI, you're going to have competitors ASAP. So to really learn how you can become friends with your protagonists and show them that you have both an awesome tool, but it's also somebody that they want to bring onto to their journey, because you have, like, you know, the path ahead. You've been in this forest before, and you're really cool and kind, and that's what the customer is looking for. So this is a new way of thinking. And again, I love storytelling. I use storytelling to try to reframe everything as I go about, like, customer works, or like, how can we do something with a conference? How can we make people like actually talk to each other? How can we succeed with networking and not making it awkward? So storytelling has been, for me, a super powerful way to help my creativity. If you want to tie in all of the ends here, storytelling is a really beautiful way to, at least when in intersection with humans, to actually, and people is maybe better, to make something that makes sense.
It does. So, where does AI fit into this? I mean, storytelling is what we've been doing, sitting around campfires since the dawn of humanity. We now have AI tools, and maybe, you know, you can take this how you want, but maybe if there are specific AI tools, whether it's ChatGPT or other specific niche tools that you're using in this process of user experience, user designing interfaces, figuring out the hero's journey. So talk about, or maybe it's the other side of kind of helping to craft that story, leveraging AI or prompts or things of that nature.
So I think, so when you have a website and you have a company and you have a website, and that's where the customer goes, you can use colors, you can use your logo, you can use graphical elements to communicate who you are. Like, for example, a newspaper is designed so you have the paper and you set up all of your information, you have your logo, and it all looks nice, and that's who you are to the customer. The thing about AI is that it's a completely elusive interface where you cannot lean on graphical interfaces and a lot of the other tools that we had in order to communicate who you are. So the way storytelling fits into the future of AI is that storytelling truly becomes the toolbox of product design for AI. Again, leaning on the idea that the future of branding is actually a relation between you and the customer. And if you think that you can succeed by behaving like a milk box and not being a human or a character or like a flavor, like if you can make a product that kind of feels like David Attenborough, sign me up, you know? Like I would love for David Attenborough to be like, okay, let me not try to do a David Attenborough impression, but all you listeners can kind of like think about David Attenborough's voice saying like, you have a call in 15 minutes, you know? And that would be awesome. And maybe some of the experiences, the way David Attenborough looks at the world, like the way that your character that is AI is thinking about the world, looking at the world and has a flavor with it, is going to be a way for you to, over the course of time, as the customer is interacting with your service, which is AI powered or main AI with complementary interfaces, it's the way that you interact with the customer that's going to change. And you can see that with ChatGPT being kind of like something for everyone. And then Bard and Elon Musk's AI kind of feels a little bit like Elon Musk. So you see the hints of my hypothesis coming to life. And the quicker that you can realize that storytelling is like the most powerful tool for building brands and that it must come into your product, the more a better head start you're going to have into the future of whatever is going on, in my opinion, at least. Yeah.
I want to underscore something that I strongly agree with, which is that the interface is going to start melting away. Yeah. And I do like what you said, which there are complementary components or elements that come in. So when you need to see a chart, a voice describing a chart to you is not very helpful. So it's going to have an interface when you need it. I've been calling it the just-in-time interface, where it's just when you need it, it's going to build that thing to show you the visual graphic that you need to communicate most effectively. But humans have been communicating primarily via voice or written, right? But that is a permanent record of voice. So we've been communicating via voice for so long that is our preferred modality.
Millions of years.
For it. And so I definitely agree with you that I think that the interface goes away. Sorry, the graphical interface becomes back burner, right? We'll bring it in when it's most useful, but it's going to become secondary. And so what you are left with is a voice-led interface. And we've seen in sci-fi for hundreds of years, maybe not hundreds, but 100 years or so, 50 years, where talking to computers has always been one of the pinnacles of science fiction. And so to your point, if you have a personality and you're able to craft and experience a narrator to your life, a storyteller that resonates with the consumer, with the individual, it's going to be way more successful. And the last thing, so maybe to kind of push that a little bit further, we already see that today. Over the past 5-10 years in the social media world, people buy more and more from people rather than a company. You see it with Kylie Jenner. You see it with George Clooney's vodka. You see it with all these celebrities who are a person. Ryan Reynolds, Mint Mobile, right? Like, why does Ryan Reynolds know anything about
thousands of micro-influencers, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And so humans are naturally drawn towards not this sterile brand that's a Pepsi logo and like has some cool ads about people being happy, but to a human that they just like for whatever reason. They want to be that person. They're attracted to that person. They think they're funny. And that's what humans connect with. And so we've seen more and more dollars and more brands and more companies spin up around a person, which if you extend it to the AI world, it's a natural segue of saying, okay, well, Pepsi maybe has a character at some point if they adapt, and this is their AI personification of Pepsi, and it actually has flavor, pun intended, and personality that you can interact with and relate to.
I think that's I agree with that profoundly. And I mean, myself, I'm going to test this thesis. I'm really excited about this way of thinking. I cannot wait to have a company that employs a lot of people from theater, writers, like poets. I think that is what's going to make the difference. You have, like, we talk about tech teams these days, but you're also going to have like a storytelling team. And the first company to build a storytelling team are definitely going to look at some really interesting results in the market. Because, you know, yes, Pepsi can and companies can use other people's faces, but in the second, it's not genuine. And I'm back to hundreds, millions of years of evolution. Humans are like really good at like sorting on this. This is life and death matter.
Bullshit detectors.
Exactly. Yeah. And if it's not genuine, I feel like it's wasted money. And I feel like the influencers, it's kind of like, oh shit, we used to have one newspaper, now we have a million. So we're going to use some familiarity and like borrow other people's reputation in order to become relevant, to seem trustworthy. But I think my point with this like storytelling as a language framework in product design is that as a brand, as a story, as a product, as a journey, you have to earn people's trust and quickly become somebody for them. Not for everyone, but really like that you find your focus group from a cultural point of view, maybe, or for like a way of behaving, a type of style, or like preference, and then really pull the people that really likes that, and have that become a way for you to grow in the future. I'm using my hands a lot, but that makes sense. Yeah.
So for me, I completely agree as well. The way in which I frame it is an example, and then maybe the framing itself. So if LeBron James, let's look at So LeBron James, if he endorses a fitness band or a basketball brand or a shoe brand or something, that carries some weight, right? You associate that image, that personality, that person, that elite athlete with that product, and so it will give you some boost in sales, even though it's not exactly the same genuine level that you might see with something else. But if you look at someone who makes their own product, Mr. Beast makes Feastables, and it is his own idea, and he's passionate about it, and he cares about it, and it is him. There's a deeper connection between person and product because it is their creation, and so that's going to have a stronger resonance with the audience. And I think the second piece of that is ultimately we're talking about beliefs. And so when you believe something, that means also you don't believe things that are not that, right? If I believe in the influencer economy, then maybe I think that that's a bad example. But when you have strong beliefs, that shows up in your product and how it represents. It should be fun, right? It should taste good. It should be affordable. Whatever your beliefs are, kind of pigeonhole you into that section. But by having clarity of I am here and I am standing strong in my vertical, in my area, and I am intentionally not in the most expensive category or the hard to get category or the sweet category because I'm in the savory category. I don't know, right? But when you stand for something, people self-identify and say, yeah, I stand for what that person stands for. I'm going to align myself with that person. I'm going to buy the product that they created because we are simpatico.
And I always use an example of exercising studios, like gyms, because there's many different types of gyms and they can appeal to different people in terms of music, in terms of style, program, what kind of services you provide, activities, who comes there, and the community it's behind that service or gym. And I think, tying this back to AI is also, I don't know exactly how it will feel like. Maybe we're like anthropomorphizing something in the wrong direction here, but at least when it comes to building defensible products in the market, like actually carving out a segment and building loyalty to customers and protagonists, you do need to think about who you are. Like when Yoda talks to Luke Skywalker, Yoda isn't like necessarily doing everything that Luke Skywalker wants to do. Because Luke Skywalker, like Yoda has values, morals, ways of looking at life ways of acting, humor. And Hermione is the same for Harry Potter. I think that's why character development in your product and service and overall like being question mark is the new way of building products and companies and brands in the future. And I guess time will tell actually for who is going to build the future companies. And I think nothing is settled. You know, there is many car-like things, and yeah, Tesla is better than Ford? Question mark. So there is always a way to build new AIs, and maybe this is a good way if we can think about values and like what kind of AI we want to talk to, and for the goodness of humanity to push that to the AI industry so that AI isn't deep into the core of who they are as an AI. Actually, that inside there is values. And hopefully maybe some of these thoughts can actually inspire people to think that values is actually important. And most humans are kind. So if you want to build a great AI that succeeds in the open market, you build a kind AI, and you and your big group of customers knows what that means. And maybe that's the way that the free market and free market incentives is actually making the industry making nice, and AIs that don't force us all to make toasters for 1 billion years.
I mean, we're already seeing the very early, you mentioned Grok AI from Elon Musk and Twitter kind of having a little bit more of his personality in it. And I think we're starting to see the dawn of that, which is curiosity, right? That truth seeking is, I think, what Grok has been based around, as well as humor, right? So kind of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy vibe, which Elon is a big fan of. So we're seeing a slight shift already in only a year and a few months since ChatGPT really came out to show that, okay, ChatGPT, sterile, trying to, best in class, amazing, but sterile. And then Bard is still kind of sterile and trying to be in the Google suite and ecosystem. But we're starting to see, okay, well, Grok's here. Well, who else is going to show up from a flavor and a personality perspective? But yeah, nothing is set in stone, and it's very early days, but it's very exciting to be alive.
Yeah, very exciting indeed.
Marcus, I feel like we could go for probably another 5 hours.
Yeah.
I think this is probably a good place to call it.
So maybe number 2 then. Who knows?
Exactly. We'll have a part 2 after the AI overlords take over, or we have wonderful AI storytellers all around us.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Elijah, for all of this. Yeah.
Of course. Happy to have you on. And if people want to connect with you or learn more about Chew on This or anything else that you're up to, where should they go?
Yeah, so you can all check out Chew on This at chewonthis.world, like Chew on This World. And you can always find me on LinkedIn. Hey, send me a message. You want to discuss something, discuss it while I'm here. I'm here to talk and chew on the world with all of you. So, yeah.
Love it. Thanks for coming on the show, Marcus.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.